Welcome to this episode of Design in Stereo. My name is Daniela Mora, and I am a graphic design student, and today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic that I have been studying throughout this term, precisely about how we can implement graphic design with AI and how it can help us to complement all our work. So let's start, and from there we are going to share with a colleague that I have today who is going to be with me. His name is Alfonso.
Hi, I'm Alfonso. I'm studying animation and I'm really excited to do this interview because personally I was studying when the rise of artificial intelligence began, and personally I have to say that I have used it as a tool in some small projects.
Well, I love that because it's really about this. It's not about us understanding that artificial intelligence is like a support for us and not seeing it as an enemy, because on many occasions we are scared of how artificial intelligence is going to take our jobs and so on. And in the end I think it's not so much that. It's about finding that good point and seeing the way in which we can work with them, isn't it?
In other words, artificial intelligence has been used for many years, and now when it has become powerful, that is to say now when it has really evolved to a point that scares us because we are really seeing what we imagine as an artificial intelligence, the person with whom you can, person, a tool with whom you can talk, share conversation and so on. But really programs like Photoshop or Animator and Illustrator that all arts people use in general, have functions that support artificial intelligence.
At the end of the day, for example, I think that from 2016 onwards, we started to hear a lot more about these issues and everything related to artificial intelligence started to go viral. But it's what you say. I mean, it was a long time ago. I remember seeing an article in which they talked about Alan Turing. I don't know if you know him, who is one of the first creators of Manchester computing. He talked about how there was going to be a future with artificial intelligence, so in the end we are going back to a time much earlier than what we have today, and it was already estimated that this was going to happen. So I think that what we have to see the point is what is the good that we can get, and how we can implement it as artists that we are not. That is the point. Then I wanted to do a small activity, and my idea was that I will create different questions, and I have asked them to artificial intelligence, and we will discuss them a little to see what you think of what artificial intelligence has responded to these questions.
Perfect.
So you're going to start with the first one that says, what do you think about the challenges of incorporating artificial intelligence into creative design? In this case, artificial intelligence has responded. I think one of the key challenges is the lack of human intuition. On this point, I think it's true. I'm not going to say no, because it's true in the end. We are talking about that they are simply a set of logarithm that creates something not clearly determined, a base that we give it as human beings, who are the ones who have the content, and from there it puts the AI. The AI may find it difficult to grasp the emotional subtlety of the human designers brought to their works, that we return to it. In the end it is what we were talking about, that it does not have as a personality. Not to say, so there is also the issue of biases or inclinations in the training data that can end up replicating the generated creations.
To me, what makes me think is that artificial intelligence does not see beyond an algorithm, which is what you have said. What it understands are images, forms, and to unite all this, of course, is really artificial intelligence. When generating an image, the intelligence, what you do is put hundreds of pixels that have a sense based on what it has already learned, of course. We can get out a little clear of the frame and we can put a feeling, and above all we can put a meaning beyond the prototype. The artificial intelligence, you say, put a box of cereal with a smiling child, that is exactly what he going to do. If you are an artist, you are asked to put some reference marks on it, you can put some mystery or something like that, you can make it have a message like banging. All his drawings are really normal things, but what he does is to put it all together in a way that gives a meaning. Because that is what artificial intelligence can't really do. It can't really give a soul to a piece of art.
Of course, and in the end it is that in this sense it catches my attention, because for example I was talking about it with some colleagues and they were saying that of course it was going to replace what was art as such in terms of the plastic arts, and I kept thinking and I said, to what extent? Because we return to this subject. In the end, you can't give it soul or meaning when you really are not. You don't have a clear idea. So as it is all an algorithm, I think it can be a tool for all of us who are involved in digital art, such as graphic art, animation, illustration, all this type of art. But what is, for example, sculpture, plastic arts, all this type of subject? I think that artificial intelligence falls short in this area because it is not going to be able to replace any sense.
AI is not going to be able to create a new oil technique. She can only create images and texts, and that's it. But she doesn't have the technique itself. She doesn't know it, and going from there I asked the question, and what do you think about the originality and authenticity of the design in relation to AI? We analyzed it a little bit, right from here. AI can affect originality, because by automatically generating designs there is a risk that similar ideas will be produced. It also depends a lot on the entertainment data. If it is biased, the guide could be reproducing existing patterns in one place rather than creating something really new and authentic. Well, that's quite right, because what the AI uses to learn and generate images are images that already exist. In fact, I've seen it a lot on the internet the last few days, in fact from artists who realized that the AI and have used art of theirs that they published of course to generate new things like this. There was an image on the internet said, "Oops, you picture is the one I did." And it's really that problem is going to start to occur, because the art that all published on the internet is what it's using is it to learn if it's connected to the net.
In the end, it's also like a double-edged sword, because we as artists publish our hours of art or our graphic pieces or whatever. We think that once it's published everyone has access to it, but in the end it's something public and it stops being ours to a certain extent, and the AI, for example, can take it and can make use of it. It's true that I remember seeing a video on TikTok that talked about precisely that. It didn't say that by taking elements, for example, from the style of the bank added with graphics by Dolly, I don't know what, and it started to mix it all up and create a different piece. In the end it is based on that, which we already know of course, because he is not able to create something by his own presence.
And to be honest, the AI does not understand concepts either, because if you ask it for an image of a toaster, what it will do is see all the images of toasters that have in their registry, of course create a concept, so it is already giving as a fight against art pieces, which are poisoned. Then I do not know if you've seen it, but basically happens, for example, that the AI sees it as a hat. But in reality it is a cat. Prend more is learning these poisoned images. Prompts, once written they fail, that is, you ask for a cowboy with a hat and you get a gentleman, a cowboy with a cat on his head, because the AI doesn't know it's a hat. It's not a hat, she knows that's what you've told her, it's a hat, so she's getting these poisoned images. And not just with hats, and I've seen it with toasters and cakes, with I don't know, with 1,000 things, with necklaces and ropes and things that look similar and so on, and it's kind of messing with it.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that, but I can see it. I mean, it's something that is inevitable, and that's why I think there's a lot of talk about how we have to start adapting to it and not just say we're here and we can take photos from other eras or whatever, but how can we use it, or how can we really implement it? Another question I asked him was, how do you see AI impacting the creative process in design? We're not talking about the final piece, but about you as an artist in your process of creating your piece of art or your animation or anything like it can be implemented correctly, not at the end, because that's where it comes in as well. So I think that the IDA can be an incredible tool to automate routine tasks. I totally agree with this, because I make use of artificial intelligence in this sense. In other words, all the texts that can be created in a generic way, and the truth is that with this, we make a lot of progress, and we don't have to be wasting time on things that maybe we don't need, and then it says, and frees up time to create for more creative tasks. It can also serve as a source of inspiration, by proposing innovative ideas and optimizing designs through the rapid analysis of multiple variables. This in this sense, yes. I see that it is coherent. No, because I also studied what she answers you and we return to the same. For example, the first time I asked him the questions he gave them to me in a schematic way, because at that moment it was like, okay, you have given me the answer that I am asking you the question, but I cannot dialogue with this answer because you have given me like an exam topic, you know. You have given me the points that I have to talk about as if it were a script. So at the end I said, okay, wait for it, because if I go back to copy the questions, but I say, hey, answer me people like a conversation. That's when he gave me this very interesting conversation, because on top of that he gave me as an interviewer and AI answering, like it was very curious. I thought he was just going to answer the questions, but he gave me a whole clear dialogue. So in this aspect, I think it's interesting.
And it's useful, really useful.
It is at the end it's about the sense that we can not only implement at the level of text or image, but already, for example, at the level of video, and all this works very well. I know that you can create parts of films and things with artificial intelligence, that is to say include to create parts of the film, or if something is missing that can be complemented with AI, then I find that very curious as a tool. It is really very useful.
For example, in Photoshop, in the beta of AI, the function of you to the you surrounded something in the background that you wanted, that a house, a person that was not you wanted the photo and eliminated it completely, not like other functions that what they did previously was as they copy the pixels of around that there was inside if clear. Really this time what it did was to analyze the photo and to think that there should be there behind the thing that is occupying place that you want out. Work very well.
Yes, it's something that I love because I use Photoshop a lot more than it illustrates, and the new version that they have created now, almost very little with the theme of artificial intelligence, is working very well, is giving very good results, and the truth is that it is super interesting because at the level not only of editing professional photography, but to be able to create pieces and so on can be a great advance. But being able to create pieces and so on can be a great advance. In the end, it is about that every time that intelligence or technology in general advances, we really have to see it as the good side, not only to see the way in which we can implement it and that we can bring it to our day-to-day work, of course. I think it is a little more about that. I asked another question that I liked because I think it is super important, which is everything that is ethical implementation. I didn't put what do you think we should consider when using artificial intelligence in design, not at the ethical level, and put the ethical implications are crucial to copying in the results. The accountability in case of problems and the transparency of the algorithm use are key aspects we need to address. Who is responsible and make sure that the AI decision-making process is transparent. In this, I am very impressed by how artificial intelligence has been able to respond to me almost as if it was responding to me as a person, so it was very interesting.
To me, pass me this answer is that it seems to me that he is like dodging the question a little bit, because in the end he thinks that I think that he takes like many different texts or conversations that maybe there are already different magazines or blogs and what you do as a conclusion of all of this. I don't imagine that, of course, a little bit of the work that he has done also like he doesn't really put, because the AI, let's be realistic, it doesn't have any kind of ethics because we in it is not very well understood that it has been the case, of course. Then really the AI doesn't say at any moment it's a danger. The ethical AI really doesn't, because of course the little intelligence that it has to give a correct answer, and that is beneficial for me because I'm not going to sell myself badly. Of course what you do is really dodge the question. Has caught my attention of this is very, very curious.
Because to that, as if it were a person that yes, but if in ethical issues, and at a work level, I think that is what is having the most effect on people now. People are not very concerned about how it will be handled, how it is going to be used. Because we are seeing the issue of voice cloning of videos of people who are maybe girls, and they take away the style and transform them into adults to change their identity.
This has happened with celebrity and everything. That Photoshop editing has uploaded to TikTok, on Twitter, and uploaded photos of artists, and of course that is a problem. I recently saw one of the Latin artists and I went crazy with what they uploaded, because if they are promoting this type of content, not even with the songs that have come out now, artificial intelligence that really say they are good. And I really started to see the TikToks of the guy who created them, and he explained one thing that caught my attention, which is that the AI does not understand how I speak. An artist, the only thing you do is change your voice with the artist's voice. Then he showed with Bad Bunny singing as if he was not Bad Bunny singing, as with more ballad type, and then when he put the voice of Bad Bunny above, that gave fatal. It did not look good. Said me, really what I have to do is learn and study how I sing. A singer sing like him, and I've done everything, but the kid sings well. The good arranged with another auto-tune whatever, but kid sings well. Understand this has done, there is a work behind it, clear, but the IA is not to blame. That is taking the voice of an artist, someone who has told him I want this party to change with this, and put his voice together. Of course, but there is one thing that happens, which is that by rule you know that you can't copyright a sound, you can't copy your voice. You can get angry all you want, but if the song doesn't sell like Bad Bunny, you just listen to it, but you can't say it's him. Your voice is a timbre, other people can have it, just like you have copied like Bad Bunny and tried to make me a copy of Bad Bunny. But if what I am selling is to be Bad Bunny, but I don't say at any time I am Bad Bunny, artificial intelligence limiting to such a famous Latin singer, I am not breaking anything you know about the artist.
For example, the people who are already famous, there is a very big problem, and in this issue, I think that not only what you say, not only the issue of them copying your voice and changing your face and putting you in places where you have not been for them, I imagine that it is complicated how to stay in the shadow of all these issues, but also that now you create it from scratch and he could have been at home sleeping.
But that catches my attention, because what happens if there is an artist that from now on all his songs are going to be AI songs, and all he does is say such and such a person come, and then all he does in a concert is learn it and sing it. At no time has he done anything clear that he is doing playback. It strikes me how artists are dividing themselves, for example with the nostalgia song that went super viral that was Bad Bunny and Bad Gil got a backlash, a huge piss-off, telling his fans that he liked the song that they weren't real fans and he threw a tantrum while Bad Gil really appreciated the work that was behind that song. She said this person really knows how I sing the lyrics, I use my tones, and you can see that it's beyond an AI, there's human work behind it. You know, he's a guy who knows music, a guy who studied me, he's a guy who understands, and what he's done is he simply mentored technological method to what he's created and that's it. So he loves the song, he loves the fact that they stole his voice, so it makes you think, you know.
The truth is yes, anyway, and the last one question is for designers who are exploring the intelligence, the integration of artificial intelligence. What advice would you give them? Well, that's been a bit to see what advice you can give me, taking into account that as such you are already putting it to use, of course. Then say. You would advise them to see artificial intelligence as a complementary tool, not as a replacement, not as what we have been talking about as essential, understand the current limitations of artificial intelligence, incorporate ethical practices in design, keep up to date on new trends and collaborate with artificial intelligence experts and other professionals to address the challenges effectively. Well, here we come back to the same thing. Point: try to avoid the answer something reasonable with what you can talk about, and I think that in that sense in the end everything we have talked about comes together. No, that is, it is to find the ethical way to use it. The ethics are given by us, of course. He can't do anything, that is, he is not a department or a company as such to tell you the ethics. So in the end it is for everyone to find their ethical point and that we really learn to use it and to give it the use that can be made of it. We can create very cool things. Artificial intelligence.
I think what I always say with artificial intelligence, when I discovered it, I started to use it to help me. Better to fight with it than against it. Nobody is going to stop. This is going to continue and laws will be created. In fact, recently the first artificial intelligence law was passed. Laws were passed that will cut, you can do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. But better while now that it is starting, now that it is a bit of a boom, learn everything you can from it, implement it, help yourself. If what you want is animation and you want to make backgrounds, well, for example, I helped myself. They had to look for a very specific background that did not exist and I said, well, help me. I asked AI to generate me a background of such that it generated me several examples. And with that I took it as a reference. Then that is not that I have taken the image paste, but I can help myself with artificial intelligence. If I want to, if I'm not good with color, I can ask it to create a color palette that corresponds to what I'm trying to do, a job, or if I'm not really good with words but create an interview or a narrative for some kind of project, well man, no one can stop you from using artificial intelligence. It seems like that.
Yeah, totally. In the end, I think that's the beauty of us learning how to use all these new methods. Because it's like when computers and everything started, in the beginning people thought that they were not going to do anything, and tell me who today doesn't have a computer at home, who doesn't have a phone, who doesn't watch YouTube, you know. These are things and platforms and tools that have started, and you think that they are not going to last long, but they are here to stay. Of course, they are not trends. They are something that is going to stay here and that are going to be here for many, many years, and if we learn to use them, I think it's going to be very beneficial, especially for the whole artistic branch, for all of us who are dedicated to art. It's going to be very beneficial in the sense that we're going to be able to implement it. It's going to be very good for us to learn this type of thing, and it's going to be very positive for the future. So I think that's all. There were no other questions I asked you about artificial intelligence. It was very interesting. The truth is that I didn't expect how it was going to turn out, but I liked that we were able to discuss different topics, not just artificial intelligence, taken to design, which is the main part, but to really make sense of artificial intelligence and be aware that it can be in many branches, not just in art. So this is positive for us because in the end it makes us more diverse, and we can also find other ways to express ourselves and find a way to talk about art. I think it was quite good. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been very interesting. So thank you very much, Alfonso, and we'll finish the episode.